To begin with the course, look at the syllabus, and in your syllabus this is third unit, which consists of petrology. Petrology is the term which is reserved for the study of the rocks, and so I have completed the study of the rocks in this lecture, and what the topics I am going to cover in this lecture are: what are the rocks, types of the rocks, origin, classification, texture, forms and structures of the igneous rocks, and a few common igneous rocks we will study in detail in this presentation. So first question is, what is the rock? You can define the rock as an aggregation of the minerals, means rocks are the solid materials naturally occurring on the surface of the earth, which have been formed by the minerals itself. It means rocks are simply the aggregation of the minerals, means every particle of the rock is a mineral, and these minerals are known as rock forming minerals, as we have studied in second unit of your syllabus. So the rocks are the aggregation of the minerals or mineral like matters which is naturally available on the earth. Now the types of the rocks. There are three types of the rocks. One is known as igneous rock. Igneous rocks are the rocks which have been formed by cooling and crystallization of lava or magma, and second one is sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are the rocks which have been formed through consolidation of the sediments obtained through weathering and erosion of pre-existing rocks. And third one is the metamorphic rocks, which is an altered rock. It means the pre-existing rocks, either sedimentary rock or igneous rock, may expose to the increase in temperature and pressure. Due to this change, the arrangement of the crystals of the rock changes, and another rock or a new rock is formed. So this altered rock is known as metamorphic rocks. In this way, there are three types of the rocks. One is known as igneous rock, then sedimentary rock, then metamorphic rock. Now we will study igneous rock in detail. So first we will discuss the origin of the igneous rock, then textures of the igneous rocks, then classification of igneous rocks, then forms and structures of the igneous rocks, then study of common igneous rocks which are important to civil engineers. So first go to the origin of the igneous rocks. If you look at the origin of the igneous rocks, there are three types of the rocks according to the origin. Plutonic igneous rocks, the rocks which have been formed below the earth's surface near the magma chamber through slow cooling of magma. And second one is hypabyssal igneous rocks. These are intrusive igneous rocks. It means the magma came up from the magma chamber and entrapped in pre-existing rock layers and cooled and crystallized over there, and the rocks thus formed are known as hypabyssal igneous rocks. And third one is known as volcanic igneous rocks. Volcanic igneous rocks are the rocks which has been formed by rapid cooling of lava which comes on the surface of the earth with a blow, then it is known as volcano, and sometimes it comes silently, which is a fissure type of eruption. A great example of fissure type of eruption is there, Deccan basalt, which is you can find basalt. Basalt is a volcanic igneous rock of dark colored fine grained igneous rock. You can find it everywhere, begin from the Sagar and go up to the Bombay or end of the Gujarat and Maharashtra. Means if you go to the coast of the Arabian Sea, you will see the spread of black colored basalt, which is a rock have been formed through rapid cooling of lava, or I can say mafic lava came with a fissure type of eruption. So in a fissure type of eruption, the less viscous lava comes on the surface and spreads in a large area, sometimes many thousand kilometers, sometimes many 100 kilometers. So in this example of the Deccan Trap, the lava spread a few hundred kilometers from its origin and formed a thick layer of lava flows that is consisting of basalt, which is a fine grained black color rock. So these are known as volcanic igneous rocks. In this way, there are three types of the rocks according to the origin, or you can say there are three types of the origin of the igneous rock. One is plutonic igneous rock. It means the rocks which has been formed through crystallization of the magma below the earth's surface. Second one is hypabyssal igneous rocks. These are formed under intermediate conditions. It means magma came from the magma chamber and it has not reached to the surface. In between, it has been placed in weaker zones of the pre-existing rock layer, and this type of emplacement of the magma forms hypabyssal igneous rocks. Then third one is volcanic igneous rock. So this was the origin of igneous rocks, and then go to the texture of igneous rocks. There are three types of the components which are responsible to define the texture. One is known as size of the crystal, second one is known as the shape of the crystal, and third one is known as the mutual gradation of the crystal grains. So simply, if you will define the texture, the simple definition of the texture is the appearance of the rocks, or you can say arrangement of the crystal grains in a rock is defined by the term texture. So how means what are the size of the mineral grains present in the rock, how they are arranged and how they are related with each other. This is the texture. So according to the size, you can divide the texture into two of igneous rocks. One is known as phaneretic texture, second one is known as aphanetic texture. Phaneretic texture means the texture of the rocks or igneous rocks which means whose mineral grains are identifiable or visible through naked eyes. Means if you can identify the mineral grains in a rock through naked eyes, then the texture of the rock is known as phaneretic texture. And if you are not able to identify the mineral grains, or you cannot identify or demarcate the boundary of the particles, then this is known as aphanetic igneous rocks. Means very fine grained igneous rocks whose mineral grains are not identifiable under the naked eyes. Means you need a microscope to identify different mineral grains in a rock, then that rock is known as aphanetic igneous rocks. If the rock is a phaneretic igneous rocks, means the mineral grains can be identified through naked eyes, then you can categorize the texture of these rocks into three. One is known as coarse grained igneous rocks. If the size of the mineral grains are more or equal to 5 mm, then the rock is termed as coarse grained igneous rock and the texture is termed as coarse texture. And if the size of the mineral grains varies from 5 mm to 1 mm, then the rock is termed as medium grained igneous rock, the texture is termed as medium grained texture. And if the particle of the minerals are below 1 mm size, then the rock is termed as fine grained igneous rocks. So if the rocks are so fine grained that you cannot identify the mineral grains, then it goes to second category, which is aphanetic igneous rocks or aphanetic texture. So these are the classification of the textures depending upon the size of the particles in a igneous rock. If the particle size are very small, means if the rock is a fine grained rock, the particle size is below 1 mm, then their texture is defined on the basis of the shape of the particles or shape of the constituent mineral grains. So there may be three types of shapes or three types of crystals available in the igneous rocks. One is termed as euhedral crystals. If the rock has been formed through slow cooling below the earth's surface, then it takes a long time to crystallize, means minerals are crystallized in a very regular fashion and perfect crystals are developed. If a crystal is having all faces or all sides developed, then that kind of crystal is known as euhedral crystal. And if the crystals are not developed fully, means few faces or few sides are developed but few are not developed, then the crystal is termed as subhedral crystal. And if the crystals are not developed entirely, means no sides or no faces of the crystal has been developed, means this occurs in the volcanic igneous rocks, where rapid cooling takes place of the lava on the surface of the earth. Due to rapid cooling, the fine grained texture develops and the crystals are also not developed. Majority of the material found in I can say volcanic igneous rocks are of sorry, anhedral shaped crystals. Means if the crystals are having no faces developed, then the crystal is known as anhedral crystal. Similarly, if a rock is containing euhedral crystals or perfect crystals in majority, the texture is termed as holocrystalline or panidiomorphic texture. Means the rock is termed holocrystalline rock and the texture is termed panidiomorphic texture. And if the majority of subhedral grains are there in a rock, then that rock is termed as mesocrystalline rock and the texture is termed as hypidiomorphic texture. If a rock is containing anhedral crystals in majority, the rock is termed as holohyaline rock and the texture is termed as eluteomorphic texture. So according to the shape of the crystals, there are three types of crystals: euhedral crystals, subhedral crystal or anhedral crystals. And the rocks containing euhedral crystals is panidiomorphic texture. The rock containing subhedral crystals is termed as hypidiomorphic texture, and the texture of a rock in which anhedral crystals are in majority, that is holohyaline rock, and the texture is termed as eluteomorphic texture. Now, if the mineral grains are not equal, they are of unequal size, then the texture is termed as inequigranular texture. And if a rock is having inequigranular texture, means few large crystals, few small crystals, means the crystals of varying size is found in an igneous rock, then that rock is termed as inequigranular igneous rock. And how their mineral grains are related or arranged, that is again a criteria to define subsequent types of the textures. So in an inequigranular rock, there are three types of the possibilities of the textures. One is known as porphyritic texture, second one is known as poikilotic texture, and third one is known as ophitic texture. So what is porphyritic texture? If the larger crystals are enclosed in smaller crystals, then the texture is termed as porphyritic texture. So in a porphyritic texture, the large mineral grains are surrounded by smaller mineral grains. So these larger crystals or larger mineral grains are known as phenocrysts, and the smaller crystals which are surrounding this bigger one are known as ground mass or matrix. So in a porphyritic texture, means the identification the porphyritic texture is the larger crystals are surrounded by smaller ones. Now second, that is of poikilotic texture. Poikilotic texture is just opposite of porphyritic texture in as per their mineral grain arrangement. It means what we have seen in porphyritic texture, smaller crystals are surrounding the bigger one, means bigger crystal is in the center and smaller crystals are surrounding that crystal or those crystals. Many crystals may be there, many crystals are actually there in a rock, and those big crystals are surrounded by smaller crystals. Just opposite of it means a bigger crystal is there and smaller crystals are enclosed in that bigger crystal, means you can see smaller crystals inside the big crystal, then that type of texture is termed as poikilotic texture. I think this is clear now. Again I would repeat it, means poikilotic texture is the texture in which smaller crystals are enclosed in larger crystals. Larger crystals means phenocryst and smaller crystals means matrix or ground mass. So in a larger crystal, means in a phenocryst, if smaller crystals are enclosed inside that crystal, that big crystal, that phenocryst, then that kind of texture is termed as poikilotic texture. Now go to the next. This is ophitic texture. Ophitic texture is the texture in which smaller crystals are enclosed in a bigger crystal, but the bigger crystal would be agate pyroxene and smaller would be plagioclase feldspar. It means this is also poikilotic texture, but this is a special case of poikilotic texture. It means in any rock, if any kind of or any mineral grain of bigger size is there and minute crystals of any mineral are enclosed in that, then that texture is termed as poikilotic texture. But if the mineral is defined, it means if the larger crystals are of agate pyroxene and the smaller crystals are of plagioclase feldspar which are enclosed in that phenocryst of agate pyroxene, then that kind of special poikilotic texture is termed as ophitic texture. So this is simple to remember. One, porphyritic texture where bigger crystals are surrounded by smaller ones. Then second, poikilotic texture in which smaller crystal grains are enclosed in bigger one, means just opposite of porphyritic texture. Then third one is ophitic texture, which is a special case of poikilotic texture. It means the texture is same as poikilotic texture, means bigger crystal is there and smaller crystals are enclosed inside the bigger one. But this is a special case. It means the bigger crystal or phenocryst is of agate pyroxene and smaller crystals are of plagioclase feldspar which are enclosed in agate pyroxene crystals. So this is an example of ophitic texture. Now we have completed this phenolitic kind of texture, means the rocks whose mineral grains are visible through naked eyes. So let us take the examples of phenolitic rocks. The first and most common example I would like to take here is granite. Granite is an igneous rock, I can say plutonic igneous rock, which you might have observed, you might have seen, either you have seen or you have heard about it. That is now used, nowadays it is being used as platform of the kitchen. So that rock which is consisting of pink color grains, white grains and black grains, sometimes dark green or dark brown grains. So this kind of rock, that is known as granite. Here a picture of granite I have shown in the presentation. You can identify the minerals also. We have studied about the minerals in second unit, means we are now able to identify the minerals. So you can identify in this picture also the pink or I can say flesh red colored crystals are of K feldspar or alkali feldspar, and the crystal are of transparent white or white colors are quartz. So this is an example of phenolitic igneous rocks, means you can identify the mineral grains of granite through naked eyes, and the essential minerals for the granite are quartz and alkali feldspar. Accessory minerals like biotite mica, muscovite mica, hornblende etc. may be present there or may not be present there. So important is essential minerals. So you must remember it. The essential minerals for granite are quartz and alkali feldspar. Now second example I would take here is diorite. Diorite is also a phenolitic igneous rock. It means you can identify the mineral grains of this particular rock through naked eyes. There is no need to go to the microscope, and the essential minerals present in this rock means in diorite are plagioclase feldspar and amphiboles. Hornblende is a mineral which is categorized under amphibole group, and these minerals are found in diorites. So plagioclase feldspar and amphiboles are there in diorites. And third example I would take here is gabbro. Gabbro is a rock of basalt family, you can say. Means there are three rocks: gabbro, basalt and dolerite. The mineral composition for all these three rocks are same. It means agite, pyroxene and plagioclase feldspar are essential minerals for these three rocks. Means the magma from which these rocks has been originated is having same mineral composition, but the origin or occurrence of these rocks are different. Due to difference in origin, there are different types of textures or structures developed in these rocks. That's why they have been named in different way. Gabbro is a plutonic igneous rock of mafic composition. It means FeMg rich minerals are there in abundance. So gabbro is a plutonic igneous rock, and see gabbro and dolerite. Dolerite is the hypabyssal igneous rock, and basalt is the volcanic igneous rock. So here I have shown the picture of gabbro. This is a plutonic igneous rock of mafic composition. Granite was having a salic composition, or you can say felsic composition. It means silica was there in abundance in granite. That's why that was in light color, and gabbro is having FeMg rich minerals in majority. That's why it looks dark color. Now go to the aphanetic igneous rocks, means fine grained igneous rocks. I have taken few examples of fine grained igneous rocks for you. One is basalt, which is I told you that is volcanic equivalent of gabbro, having mineral composition plagioclase, feldspar and agite, pyroxene as essential minerals. And second one is rhyolite. Rhyolite is the means volcanic equivalent of granite. It means mineral composition of granite and rhyolite is same. The difference is in texture. Because of slow cooling of magma, granite has been formed. That's why bigger crystals are there in granite, and rhyolite has been formed through volcanic eruptions, and this is a fine grained texture. That's why you cannot identify the mineral grains in this crystal through naked eyes, in this rock through naked eyes, and that is why these are categorized under aphanetic igneous rocks. And third one is the example of obsidian. Obsidian is also a volcanic igneous rock, and this is of ultra basic composition. It means FeMg rich minerals are there in majority. Means silica is deficient in this particular rock. So due to the absence of silica or less majority of silica, these rocks appear in dark colors. So this was about the textures of the igneous rocks. One was categorized under phaneretic, second was aphanetic. So we have completed phaneretic and aphanetic, both kind of textures of igneous rocks. Now you people would be able to answer the textures of igneous rocks when the question comes related with this topic in your exams. Now go to the classification of igneous rocks. Classification of igneous rocks are done in many ways. Many people have classified igneous rocks in different ways. But the most common and most acceptable, or I can say widely accepted classification of igneous rocks is based on their mineral composition and texture. And texture is related with origin. So you can also say according to the origin and mineral composition, rocks can be classified, and this classification is generally used by the geoscientists and civil engineers as well. So go to the mineral composition of the rocks. We have discussed in earlier slides. Minerals present in an igneous rocks are known as rock forming minerals, and these minerals are in majority silicate minerals. These are of generally light colors, that is why the rocks are also of light colors. So mineral composition is written in two terms. One is known as essential mineral, second is known as accessory mineral. So essential minerals are those minerals whose presence and absence may change the name of the rock. It means if you call a rock granite, it means quartz and alkali feldspar would be present essentially there. Other minerals may be present or may not be present. So the other minerals which are in less quantity and which may be present and may not be present in the mineral, in the rock, that presence or absence may not change the name of the rock. Those kind of minerals are known as accessory minerals. So essential minerals and accessory minerals, and these are the common minerals found in igneous rocks. Quartz, you might have heard the names at least. Actually we have completed the unit of mineral, that's why I suppose that you people are aware of these terms. So first mineral here I have written is quartz, chemical composition SiO2, then K feldspar, KAlSi3O8, plesioclase feldspar, NaLSi3O8 to Cal2Si2O8. There is a range. This is known as a series of plesioclase feldspars, and third one is muscovite. The mineral I can say chemical composition is KAl3Si3O10 OS twice. So muscovite mica, then biotite mica, then amphibole group, minerals of amphibole groups, and then pyroxene group, then olivine. So from quartz to muscovite means quartz, K feldspar, plesioclase feldspar and muscovite mica, these are of light colored minerals, and you can see silica is in majority in these minerals, but the minerals biotite, the minerals of amphibole group, the minerals of pyroxene group, the minerals of olivine group, these minerals are dark colored minerals because of FeMg rich mineral means chemical composition, and these are termed as mafic minerals. So quartz, K feldspar, plesioclase, muscovite are the minerals which are found in felsic rocks, and the biotite, amphibole, pyroxenes and olivines are found in mafic igneous rocks. These are the common minerals found in different igneous rocks. Now the study of common rocks, see granite. Granite we have discussed earlier. Here I have taken images of granite and the mineral constituents of the granite for you. The essential minerals, as I told you earlier, are quartz and K feldspar, and accessory minerals are plesioclase feldspar and biotite mica. So this is the granite. The minerals are there in bigger size images, that's why you can identify the minerals alone, because you have studied in previous unit about the minerals and now you are able to identify the minerals. But due to the smaller size in the granite samples shown here, or the images of the samples shown here, you may be not able to identify the minerals. That's why I have given few bigger images of the mineral grains present in the granite. That's why you can identify the minerals separately. So there are essential minerals, orthoclase, feldspar and quartz, and accessory minerals, plesioclase, feldspar and biotite shown here. Now classification based on mineral composition, which is used as color classification also. The color of the mineral, as I mentioned in previous discussion, there are two types of minerals, which few minerals are categorized under light colored minerals and few are categorized under dark minerals. So light minerals are the minerals whose chemical composition is having silica in majority or in greater quantity, and dark colored minerals are the minerals whose chemical composition is having silica in deficit. So according to the presence of light colored minerals and dark colored minerals, I can say ratio of the light colored minerals and dark colored minerals. The igneous rocks are classified into three. In a rock where light colored minerals are dominant, the rock is categorized under leucocratic rock. Leucocratic means light colored. So the leucocratic rocks having light colored minerals in dominance. Second, mesocratic rock, it means few dark colored minerals, few light colored minerals. Both are the minerals are found in similar quantities. And third one is known as melanocratic rock. It means the rock which is of dark color. It means the darker minerals are present in abundance in these type of rocks. So according to the color coding, the rocks are of three types: leucocratic rock, mesocratic rock, then melanocratic rock. To remember these names, because these are very new for you people. These terms are very new. As it sounds, light colored rocks, and mesocratic means middle, neither light nor dark. So some gray tone would appear. And third one is melanocratic. You might have heard in TV ads that somebody advertising face cream says this minimizes melanin, means the matter which makes your face or your skin dark, that would be removed or minimized by the use of this cream. So this melanin you can remember for this melanocratic rock. It means melanocratic rock is the dark rock, or you can say the rock of dark color, or you can say the rock in which dark colored minerals are in dominance. So this was on the basis of the color as well as silica percentage. And second one is the classification which is most widely used, that is based on both the things, means presence of silica as well as FeMg rich minerals, and also some light weight metals present in the rock like potassium, sodium and calcium, etc. So here I have written the percentage ratio of these three components, and according to the percentage of the ratio of these components, the rocks are classified into four. So the rocks having silica more than 63% but less than 80% are known as salic, felsic or acidic igneous rocks. These three terms are used for a same kind of composition of the rock. Acidic sometimes means few literature you will see acidic, somewhere you can see felsic, and somewhere you can see salic also. So here you can take this felsic. So if the silica percentage in a rock is more than 63% and up to 80%, then the rock is termed as felsic igneous rock. And if the percentage of the silica varies from 52 to 63%, then that rock is termed as intermediate igneous rock. And if the percentage of the silica varies from 45% to 52%, then the rock is termed as mafic igneous rock. And if the percentage of silica is below than 30%, or you can somewhere you can see 45% also. Means if the presence of silica in a rock is below 45%, then the rock is termed as ultramafic igneous rock. Ultramafic or ultra basic. So there are I'm sorry, two kind of terminology you can use. If you use one terminology, means felsic, intermediate, mafic, then ultramafic, four categories. And second, you can use acidic, intermediate, basic, and ultra basic. So these terms are synonymous, you can use any one of them. So better to use acidic, intermediate, basic, and ultra basic, because acidic and basic you can remember easily. These terms are familiar to you. You have heard earlier acidic, so it is better to remember this nomenclature, means acidic, intermediate, basic, then ultra basic. There are four types of the rocks or igneous rocks, I can say. If the silica percentage varies from 63 to 80%, then acidic. If 52 to 63, intermediate. If 45 to 52, then basic. And if 45 to 30 are below, then ultra basic. So there are four kind of igneous rocks according to the mineral composition. Next. And here I have shown a picture which depicts the classification of igneous rocks in graphic manner. Here you can find the percentage of different components what I have discussed in previous slide, as well as you can find the examples of the igneous rocks fall in different categories or different classes, and also the mineral composition of those rocks, means in which percentage which mineral would occur in particular rock. So this is very useful for you. Go through it, and if you will remember this, that would help you to write the exams very much. Now next slide, that is again this is an pictorial representation of classification what we have studied in previous slide. There are the rocks and their categories, means mafic, felsic. These two categories have shown here. In a mafic category there is basalt and gabbro, which are of dark color, and in felsic category there are rhyolite and granite, these are light colored. Due to the presence of silica rich minerals, rhyolites and granites are of light colored and they are categorized under felsic group. Here one more interesting example of the rock I have to show you. There is a rock in upper right corner, you can see the image, that is pumice. Pumice is a spongy rock, means highly porous igneous rock. These rocks are developed due to the cooling and crystallization of less viscous magma, in which the volatile materials like water vapor and other gases are there in majority. When these gases escapes from the surface of that lava, the pore spaces are left and rock is crystallized then. So in this way a fully spongy rock is formed. This is so spongy and so porous that sometimes it is found in very light weight also. So due to these pore spaces, air filled pore spaces, these rocks are also able to float on the water. See next slide. Here I have put a picture. You can see a jar fill up with water and the pumice is floating over it. So if you go to the mythology, Indian mythology, I can say, Ram has built a bridge from his place to Sri Lanka or Lanka then, and that was on the surface of the sea. So there it is described that the Banar Sena of Ram throws stones or rocks on the water and they used to float, and in this way they have formed entire bridge. So I cannot understand how it can happen, but after looking at pumice, you can see there is a rock which can float on the water. So possibly, I don't know, I cannot claim its mythological value, but we can imagine that maybe the rock used in construction of that bridge Ram Setu was pumice, which was able to float on the surface of the water also. So this is also a great example of volcanic igneous rock. Now forms and structures of igneous rocks. This is the next topic, forms and structures of igneous rocks. So forms means rocks are found in different shapes. Igneous rocks are, as we have discussed earlier, that igneous rocks are formed of cooling and crystallization of lava or magma. These magma or lava is crystallized, and see, you put water in a pot, the water would take the shape of that pot. Similarly, magma is also a liquid. If it emplaces in the cavities or open spaces or weaker portions of the pre-existing rock layers, it takes the shape of the opening or weaker zone present over the pre-existing rocks. So in this way, different kind of shapes or forms are developed of igneous rocks. So in this chapter we are going to study the kinds of the shapes developed through magma emplacement in which are found today in the form of igneous bodies. So the examples are dikes, sills, laccoliths, basemoliths, phacoliths, lopoliths, volcanic necks, batholiths and conoliths. These terms are very new for you, so it is difficult to remember. So if you will see many times, if you will go through this material or book or wherever you will see these materials, if you can if you are able to repeat these terms many times, if that will go through your eyes many times, you would be able to remember those terms also. So these forms are of two types. One is known as intrusive igneous rocks or intrusive forms, and second one is known as extrusive forms. Intrusive forms are those forms which are developed due to magma intrusion or intrusion of magma in pre-existing rock layers. And extrusive igneous rocks or extrusive forms are those forms which are developed due to the lava on the surface of the earth. The most common example is lava flow, volcanic neck. If it is volcanic kind of eruption, it means lava comes with a blow on the surface, then volcanic cones are formed, or cone shaped volcanic mountains are formed, hills are formed. And if magma comes silently with a fissure type of eruption, then that kind of extrusive forms are generally lava flows. So many things are there, and according to the syllabus, as per your need, I would like to tell you a few common examples. So first, take intrusive igneous forms. The most simple form which is found of igneous rocks is dike. One more term I have forgot to tell you. There is again a classification of these intrusive forms. Intrusive forms can be categorized into two: concordant forms and discordant forms. Concordant forms means if magma emplacement takes place according to the dip of the pre-existing rock layers, it means that magma layer follows the dip of the or orientation of the pre-existing rock beds, then that kind of intrusive forms are termed as concordant igneous forms. And if the magma emplacement takes place across the pre-existing rock, it means it crosses the pre-existing rocks, or it is having some angular relation with pre-existing rock beds, then that kind of forms are known as discordant forms. So now go to the intrusive forms. The most simple intrusive form is dike. Dike is a wall-like structure made up of magma emplacement through pre-existing rock layers. If magma finds a way through fractures in a pre-existing rock layer, it intrudes into the fracture and gets cooled and consolidated to form a dike or a intrusive igneous form, which is known as dike. This is disconcordant form. And second one is sill. This is concordant igneous form. If the magma emplacement takes place along the bedding planes, then that kind of horizontal igneous bed or igneous body developed is known as sill. Here you can see a real image of the sill. And next one is lycolith. If a igneous body is developed due to magma placement who is convex upward and flat in outer portion or bottom, then that kind of form is known as lycolith, means convex upward and flat in bottom. And second one is bismuth. Bismuth is a cylindrical shaped body developed due to magma emplacement. And next one is batholiths. Batholiths are huge igneous bodies. These may be tens of kilometers wide and a few kilometers tall also. So the uppermost portion of the batholith is known as stalk. Sometimes due to differential weathering, stalks are also exposed on the surface. Here is an image of a stalk exposed to the atmosphere. Now phycoliths. Phycoliths are the igneous forms or igneous intrusions developed in folded beds. If the troughs and crests of the fold are filled up with magma, then these type of igneous bodies are formed. These are known as phycoliths. Next is lopoliths. Lopoliths is lopolith is just opposite of. See, next you will see this particular slide and shape. This is lycolith. This is convex upward, and see, this is lopolith. Lopolith is concave upward. So this is just opposite structure of lycolith. Lycolith is convex upward and lopolith is concave upward. So these are the intrusive forms. Now go to the extrusive forms of igneous rocks. Before going to the extrusive igneous forms, one more term we have to remember, that is conoliths. Whatever categories of intrusive forms we have discussed in the slides, apart from these shapes, if any igneous body is found which of irregular shape, which don't have any distinct shape, means you are not able to categorize that particular igneous formation in any of the categories mentioned earlier, then that is termed as conoliths. So conoliths are irregular shaped igneous intrusions. Now extrusive forms of igneous rocks. Extrusive forms means, as we have discussed earlier, if the magma comes on the surface, different kind of igneous forms are developed. These forms are known as extrusive forms. So most common example is lava flow. Lava flows are found in connection with fissure type of eruptions, and if it is volcanic eruption, then volcanic cones are found, cone shaped hills are developed, volcanic neck and volcanic pipe you can see somewhere if volcanic neck and pipes are exposed to the atmosphere due to differential weathering. So these are the common extrusive forms. I don't want to go in much detail because this is not in your syllabus. Now go to the next slide. See, this is a pictorial representation of different intrusive and extrusive forms developed due to magma. See the lowermost portion, this is orange colored huge body, that is magma chamber filled up with magma. This magma comes through the weaker zones or weaker planes up, and in this journey sometimes it is entrapped in pre-existing rock beds and formed forms intrusive igneous bodies like dikes, sills, laccolith, faccolith, etc. And sometimes it comes into the surface with below, then it forms uh, volcanic rocks and volcanic cones as well as a form, and then lava flows also. So these are the intrusive and extrusive igneous forms developed. And next is common igneous rocks. So we have completed all the chapters of igneous rocks. Now study of common igneous rock is left with you people. As of now we are not able to go to the lab, so we cannot see the samples of the igneous rocks we have collected in our lab. That's why I have taken few images from the internet and put in the slide for you people to have a look. Look at the first one. This is granite. This is felsic igneous rock we have discussed earlier. Then andesite, then basalt, then rhyolite, then andesite, then basalt. Few pictures are repeated here. Andesite is having two pictures here, and basalt is having two pictures. Mean different type of basalt you can observe here. Basalt is actually another one is gabbro. So gabbro is different from basalt. Gabbro is coarse grained igneous rock and basalt is fine grained igneous rock. Or you can say gabbro is pheneritic and basalt is aphanitic. See next slide here, granite, pumice, basalt and obsidian images you can see, and description also. And next one is scoria, welded tuff, pumice, fire opal, peridotite, rhyolite, and then gabbro, obsidian, granite, pegmatite, diorite, andesite, basalt, dacite. So this was all about igneous rock. I hope this lecture would help you in your studies.